Rewriting your story, turning pain into power. Have you ever wondered what would happen if you stopped trying so hard to be strong? I recently had the privilege of sitting down with Jada Price, a true visionary whose work has fundamentally transformed how we understand resilience and healing. Her insights haven't just sparked conversations, they've ignited a movement that's reshaping communities across the nation. Jada has this remarkable ability to create spaces where vulnerability isn't just accepted, it becomes a superpower. In a world obsessed with perfection and achievement, she dares to ask the questions most of us are afraid to voice. We live in a world obsessed with highlight reels, don't we? Perfect careers, perfect relationships, perfect lives displayed in perfectly filtered squares. But behind those carefully curated images, there's usually a mess, a beautiful, complicated human mess. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. The truth is, we're all walking around with invisible wounds, some fresh, some scarred over, all part of our story. But here's what I've learned from Jada and the remarkable women whose stories I'm about to share. Your wounds don't have to be your weakness, they can become your superpower. Let me say that again. Your pain can become your power, not in some cheesy Instagram quote kind of way, in a real transformative way that changes everything. I used to think healing meant reaching some magical destination where nothing hurt anymore. Spoiler alert. That's not how it works. Healing isn't a destination, it's a journey, a messy, non-linear, sometimes frustrating journey that's worth every stumble. Take Teresa Joseph, a Black woman executive whose story captivated me during my conversation with Jada. Teresa had mastered the art of grinding, working twice as hard, never showing weakness, always being on. She was the embodiment of what society told her success should look like until her body literally shut down. Imagine being so exhausted that even your exhaustion is exhausted. That was Teresa. The isolation of being the only one in predominantly white spaces, the pressure to perform perfectly, the constant code switching, it was killing her slowly. But here's where her story gets interesting. Instead of pushing harder, which is what we're all conditioned to do, Teresa did something radical. She embraced vulnerability, not as a weakness, but as a strategic advantage. She started building intentional support networks. She found her tribe, people who would hold her accountable, but also hold her heart. She began leading with love and authenticity instead of fear and perfectionism. And you know what happened? She didn't lose her edge. She didn't become less successful. Instead, she found sustainable success, deeper fulfillment. She became a role model for what she calls soulful leadership, showing other Black women executives that they don't have to sacrifice their souls on the altar of achievement. That's what turning pain into power looks like. It's not about pretending the pain never happened. It's about using it as fuel for transformation. But this journey isn't just for corporate America. It happens in our faith communities too. Aisha Miller's story particularly moved me. As a pastor's wife, Aisha found herself trapped in what I call the holy hustle, the expectation to be perfect, to never struggle, to always have it together, to be the spiritual superwoman. Meanwhile, she was drowning inside. The stigma around mental health in many faith communities meant she couldn't speak about her struggles. The lack of support for women in ministry spaces meant she had nowhere to turn. So she did what many of us do, she suffered in silence until she didn't. Isha made the brave decision to build mentorship networks specifically for women like her. She created safe spaces where they could have honest conversations about mental health, vulnerability, and healing. She encouraged women to break the chains of expectation that had been suffocating them for generations. The result? Healing and visibility for women who had been invisible for too long. New support systems shifted narratives around women's roles in faith communities, pathways to resilience that honored both faith and authentic humanity. That's what rewriting your story looks like. It's not denying your past, it's using it to create a different future. But what about when the pain comes from those closest to us? What happens when betrayal shatters the foundation of your family? This is where Deirdre Berry's journey offers profound wisdom. After infidelity fractured her family, Deirdre faced not just her own heartbreak, but the devastating impact on her children, the fractured relationships, the emotional turmoil, the sense that everything safe had suddenly become uncertain. Many people in her situation might have been consumed by bitterness. And honestly, who could blame them? But Deirdre chose a different path. She prioritized compassion, not just for her children, but eventually for herself. She created space for open communication where emotions could be processed honestly. She built community support systems that helped her children navigate the complex feelings of family upheaval. The outcome wasn't a perfect, neatly wrapped package. Life rarely gives us those. But her approach fostered something perhaps more valuable: acceptance, resilience, love that transcended the broken pieces. Deirdre's story challenges us to find peace in chaos, to make joy possible even after pain, to rewrite narratives that society has already written for us about what happens to families after betrayal. These three women, Teresa, Isha, and Deirdre, embody what Jada Price has been teaching all along. Your past does not define your future. Every setback, heartbreak, and challenge can become the foundation for your comeback. But here's the catch, and it's an important one. Healing is an active journey. You must choose to do the inner work. You must seek peace amid chaos. You must pursue joy even after the darkest nights. It reminds me of something Jada shared during our conversation. Healing isn't something that happens to you, it's something you participate in. Let that sink in for a moment. Healing isn't something that happens to you, it's something you participate in. We live in a culture that loves quick fixes: 5 steps to happiness, 3 ways to heal your heart, 7 days to a new you. But real transformation doesn't work that way. It's messy, it takes time, it requires your active participation, and sometimes it requires you to completely rewrite the story you've been telling yourself. Maybe you've been telling yourself you're too broken to be loved. Maybe you've been telling yourself you're not smart enough, good enough, strong enough. Maybe you've been telling yourself that your dreams are too big, too impossible, too late. What if those stories aren't true? What if you are the author of your life? What if you have the power to pick up the pen and write a different ending? Because here's what I know for sure after my conversation with Jada Price: you are the author of your life. Rewriting your story is possible. Dreams don't just happen, they're created through intentional action and resilience. This isn't about toxic positivity or denying reality. It's about recognizing that while you can't control everything that happens to you, you can control how you respond. You can control the meaning you assign to your experiences. You can control the story you tell yourself about who you are and what's possible. I want to challenge you to identify one area of your life where you feel stuck in pain or limitation, just one, and then commit to taking one small intentional step this week to transform that pain into power. Maybe it's reaching out for support. Because, contrary to what we've been told, asking for help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Maybe it's setting a boundary, because protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's necessary. Maybe it's rewriting a limiting belief, because the stories we tell ourselves shape the lives we live. Whatever that step is for you, take it. Not because it will instantly transform everything, but because it puts you in the driver's seat of your own healing journey. You are not just dreaming, you are creating your reality. I want to leave you with this thought: For generations, we've been taught that strength means endurance, carrying impossible burdens without complaint, putting everyone else first and toiling until there's nothing left. But what if true strength looks different? What if it looks like vulnerability? What if it looks like rest? What if it looks like saying no without guilt and yes to yourself, without apology? The world will continue to demand your strength. It will continue to expect your sacrifice. It will continue to celebrate your hustle. But I'm asking you today, what would happen if you chose differently? What would happen if you embraced your softness as a revolutionary act? What would happen if you decided that your healing matters just as much as your achievement? Because here's the truth that Jada Price and these remarkable women have shown us. When we heal ourselves, we heal generations. When we rewrite our stories, we create new possibilities for those who will follow. When we turn our pain into power, we don't just transform our lives, we transform the world. So pick up your pen. Your story isn't finished yet. And the next chapter, it belongs entirely to you.